Mr. Koval, you have suggested changes to the structure of the sheriff's office as well, and the agency. Specifically, a full-time Marine unit, a canine unit, more deputies out from behind their desks as well. So how is it that you propose to make those administrative and operational changes, and how do you propose to fund them?
You just have your name tags back. Sorry. That's why I was looking at
Okay, fine.
I'm sorry.
You want the question to be
Yes, I'm sorry. You both similar messages. I apologize. Sorry.
Well, yes, I think we need to bring a Marine unit and a canine unit to the sheriff's office because Monroe County is surrounded by water and we have no Marine unit, no one's patrolling the ocean, no one's able to respond to calls that occur out there. For instance, we have domestics that occur out on boats. There's a lot of people moving out in the ocean. We have medical calls that occur out there. We have boating accidents. There's a lot of things that occur out there, and we have no Marine unit to respond to it. Now, there are 2 cities in Monroe County that have Marine units. There's the city of Alvarado and Marathon, but they pay extra for that. But unincorporated Monroe County has no Marine unit. And when we need to go out to do something on the water, we always have to call the Coast Guard, FWC. In a lot of cases, they're not available. What I want to do is have a Marine unit available at all times so we can respond to these calls. There's been cases where I've responded to, I went to a domestic battery that was occurring out on a boat. The only way myself and my backup officer were able to respond to that is we had to paddle in a canoe that we borrowed from somebody to get to that call at night. Now, I don't think that's the way your deputies should be responding to a violent call out in the ocean. And there's many other cases where we've had armed people on boats, and again, we don't respond to those immediately because we have to wait until we can get a boat, and sometimes it takes FWC or Coast Guard a while to get to us. If we had a boat, we could respond quickly. And in Alvarado and Marathon, where they have the boats, they respond quickly to the Marine incidences, and they help a lot of people.
Thank you, Ben.
I'm going to follow up really quickly on that. What do you think about another potential candidate who was up here, Mr. Brady, suggesting better coordination between agencies as opposed to creation of additional jobs and funding of the units?
Well, each different office has their rules or guidelines or supervisors, their budgets, and they can't always necessarily work with us. We do work together when we can, but what I would like is when an incident occurs, at least during the daytime, there is a Marine unit that can respond to it immediately. Because in a lot of cases, the calls we respond to, every second matters. You know, if someone's being beaten or shot at or has a medical emergency, we need to be able to get there quickly. And if we have to go through another agency, which is what we do now, it takes time, and sometimes they don't have boats available. So again, the reason I would want the sheriff's office to have it, we would have control over it, and we could respond quickly to the incidents that require it.
Thanks.
When somebody runs for a particular position, they obviously are running because they feel that they can make some changes and so forth. We've heard the earlier discussion as far as morale, retention, budgets, and so forth, in the short period of time you have. What's your overall feeling about the operation of the Sheriff's Department in Monroe County?
The problem with law enforcement is law enforcement is usually 30 years behind, 20 to 30 years behind corporate America in their thinking. We've been running pretty much in can everybody hear me? Running
Speak closer to your mic.
Okay. Running pretty much in the same direction for the last 15 years. We're not thinking outside the box. We're losing very good people. We've gotten to where we're extremely top heavy. Roughly around $1 million in administrators. That's something that we could use, like you mentioned earlier, about funding a Marine unit. I think we need to streamline. We've gotten very reactive. We're not a proactive agency. We got very compartmented. Everybody's got their little kingdoms. Everybody's set up. You got to go through different chains of command to get permission to pull assets and resources. It shouldn't be that way. The retention issue is this. A lot of cases with double standards. We get an extremely full policy and procedures manual. We go through the discipline section, almost write a name in for each discipline policy that's there. I think we need to cut down on our policy and procedure manual, build a manual that's clear, that anybody can understand, put it in a language that it can be used for different situations and not specifics. We have great people working for us. We tend to micromanage our people. Our mid-managers are not empowered to do the things that they need to do. And I think if we streamline, took away some of those compartments, remove some of the people that are driving desk, that are certified, that have a lot of experience. There's a lot of them back here in the back of the room right now. They have a bunch of experience. We're a very young agency. We suffer from rookie-itis. Those people come on the road, kind of guide and lead, and help train these young individuals.
This is a question for Matt. If you could go back 4 years, what is one thing that you would do differently from Sheriff Perry?
I'd go back 4 years. I would bring in the Marine unit, the K-9 unit. I'd bring those in because I think they're very important. I'm not sure why you didn't do that because I already told you about the Marine unit, all the importance of it. A K-9 unit is extremely important. I worked as a K-9 officer for 14 years. I had 2 different dogs. I know the importance of a K-9 unit. They search for people who flee from us. They search for evidence. They can search for drugs. And these 2 items, the Marine unit and the K-9 unit, are very important for those reasons. And I would have the K-9 units throughout the Monroe County, especially unincorporated, and then I would assist with the cities when they need it. The training that could be done in-house. The initial setup costs would be there, but once it's set up, it would actually bring money in from seizures of vehicles, boats, and items like that. That's what I would do.
Question for Tom. Our crime rate here in Monroe County has dropped probably over the last 15 years continuously. Why is that?
Part of this from the hard work from the individuals out on the road. For the last, going back 15 years ago, we were working with a more community-based policing program where sergeants, deputies, were actually out in the community attending community functions, crime watches, meeting with the community, and they were the ones that were on top of what was happening with the crime. And in recent years, it's turned into more administrators go to the crime watches, meet with the community, but they're not the people that are coming to your door. Also in recent years is the economy downturn. Part of that's going to lead to some of the reduction in crime.
Tom, this question is for you. Sheriff Perry recently went to the Board of County Commissioners requesting an increase of about $1.4 million for the Sheriff's Office budget, primarily for pay parity and salary increases. Do you support this request? If yes, tell me why, and if no, tell me why.
Part of that $1.4 million that he was requesting is for the 3% that is the Supreme Court rules on certified officers paying into the retirement. Part of that's going to be that money. They've been advertising for the past year how to save the county $900,000, when in fact that was something that Governor Rick Scott made as a law that certified, and you heard it earlier in the House seats, we're talking about 3%. salary increases, I'm for, but I'm also for funding a pay plan that's going to have to be lucid. It's not it's for our administrative in-house people, the ones that work in records, the ones that work in payroll. You need something to look forward to. You need a guiding area. In other words, you set up a pay plan. It's not going to get funded every year. It's going to be based on what kind of money the county has. But you need something to look forward to. Where am I going to be 5 years from now working for this agency? Where am I going to be 10 years from now? And in Sheriff Rob days, he chose to do away with that. And that's led to some of the lack of retention of employees, contrary to what the other candidates were saying, or a candidate saying.
You think the sheriff's department works efficiently in an optimum way with other PDs and other agencies and federal agencies and everything? Is there a good, smooth working relationship, or do you think that can be improved upon and maybe some cost savings by, spreading some of the responsibilities out?
Yes, I think we work well with other agencies. Every time I've had to work with another agency, it always seemed to work well. Sometimes, though, I think that we maybe do too much. There will be incidences where a federal agency will stop a boat and they request our assistance, and we'll sit in one car, but then all of a sudden there's multiple officers showing up, and one of my things is I want to improve training and supervision. And I think someone needs to say, we don't need to send that many officers to assist the agency when they only requested one. And I see that happening all the time. But to answer your question, yeah, I think we work well. And the federal agencies, though, can't assist us with local laws because they can't enforce them. I mean, if they see something happening, they can detain the people until we come, but they really can't take any action beyond that. So in some instances, it'd be hard for them to do things with us.
Yeah, they do work with you, federal agencies, when it comes to particularly drug busts and things like that, SWAT and so forth. Stock Island, there's federal agents involved in that, local people yourself. You say federal agencies can't work with you?
Well, they can't enforce state law. They can't arrest people for state laws. They only do federal law. So, but if they see a crime occurring, they can detain them for us and turn it over to us. But they couldn't, take over some of our responsibilities because they're limited on what they can do as a federal agent.
Tom, I want you to assume that I am a Democratic voter in Monroe County. I know little children would be ice skating on the salt ponds if that were the case, but I want you to assume that I'm a Democratic voter in Monroe County. Differentiate yourself from Matt for me so that I can understand the difference between the two of you and the two of your candidates.
Okay. Problem is, in this sheriff's race, you're going to have pretty much 4 people that are saying very much similar things. We have different avenues about how we should go about that. One of the questions you asked Matt earlier was funding of the Marine. Where would that funding come from? Part of community policing that we were doing early on, Allison, the 4 early Roth days, was they sent us to Charleston, South Carolina. We met with Reuben Greenberg, who was the chief of police there. And he put on a conference that we paid for to come to Charleston and to learn how they did community policing, how they addressed certain issues, what they did, how they did it. Now granted, some of it was smoke and mirrors, as you can see through, but he came up with some good ideas. My argument is this: we're a waterborne community. We like spending our weekends on the sandbar, favorite islands. Why not get us a Marine unit and our dive team, have them working together, train them to the fullest extent possible. Once they are trained, open the Florida Keys up as a nationwide training facility. We got all the resources. Look how many people came down from any lobster season. Think about the motel rates that they were paying, cost of fuel running for 3 to 4 days. Now, you don't think police agencies would be willing to come down here and spend time with us and learn about the water and how to run a boat and how to back up?
Okay. Matt, you would give us an example of how your leadership solved the problem.
How my leadership solves the problem? Well, I would change some of the policies that we have. I would get more, like our detectives, I would have them investigate all crimes. Right now, they don't do that. They only investigate serious crimes or crimes with suspects. What I would do is have them investigate all crimes, because I believe that the smaller crimes are connected to the larger crimes. And if they're investigating all, they can see patterns. And through my years of experience here, I'm doing the lower crimes, I've seen a pattern. And when I would approach my supervisor and command staff and say, look, we have a pattern here, we need to address it and maybe catch this person, they would push it off and not be interested. They would say, we don't have the time, the money to sit on this. And I would give them an instance where I have it narrowed down to a 2-hour period, because I've been doing the reports for these smaller crimes. But if the detectives were doing it originally, they might even be able to connect it to a larger crime, and they have where they could go and sit on these things and maybe catch the criminals. And there was a case where I had it down to a 2-hour period, and the agency did not want to waste the time on it. I went off duty, sat on that, and the first day I caught the subject that was committing the crimes. It's a simple task, and all we have to do is get our officers doing their jobs and doing it better. And they're good officers, they just need leadership and direction, and that's all they need to do a better job.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is there a Democratic candidate?